Streets report out of the New World, though the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So the jury deliberations have begun for the trial of killer cop Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis police officer that knelt on George Floyd's neck last year for 9.5 minutes, putting the world into a Black Lives Matter frenzy. And now you have Judge Peter Cahill giving he gave the final instructions to the 12 jurors that is basically going to be sequestered. They're going to be off in a hotel until they come to a unanimous decision. So motherfuckers better make the right choice. That go for Judge Cahill and them 12 jurors, because it's pretty clear, as the prosecutor was even saying, like, you know, this isn't policing, this was murder. So, you know what I mean? Y'all better act right, man. Green Wall and Graduation. Streets report out of the New World, though the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So in Minnesota, you had thousands of students from dozens of schools actually walk out of classes on Monday, yesterday, protesting, basically calling for justice for George Floyd, you know, while this killer cop Derek Chauvin trials going on, as well as calling for justice for Dante Wright, that 20-year-old black kid that was black man that was murdered on April 11th. By officers, you know, Kim Potter, another killer cop, fronting like she thought she had a taser. And the body cam shows she had it out. 26-year vet. You gonna say you mistake this yellow ass taser for a fucking gun? Get the fuck out of here. Like, nobody's believing that. So that's why there's a lot of energy around this situation. Now, ahead of the verdict that's calling for George Floyd's trial, because, you know, the jurors are in deliberations now, you got Minnesota Governor Tim Walz calling 3,000 National Guard members and 1,100 state officers from across the state of Minnesota, so ahead of this verdict. So people are prepared for violence or whatever, but, you know what I mean? People got to keep it in perspective. Like, even the mayor of Brooklyn Center, which is where Dante Wright was killed, you had the mayor there is a black man, Mayor Elliott, from Liberia, but he was talking about how it's not safe to drive in Minnesota while you're black. You know what I'm saying? That's a heavy statement coming from the mayor. But he was saying, like, you know, when you see the police behind us, you know, we're trembling, we're afraid. It's like, you know, it's a terror that in the U.S. that nobody should have to live with. You know what I mean? In the U.S. It's ever present. So, you know, I know when these verdicts come out, you know what I'm saying, people really need to use their common sense, you know what I'm saying? Or else expect revolts and respect more riot, because people tired of not being heard. Green Wall and Graduation. Report out of the New World, though the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So the World Meteorological Organization, pardon me, the WMO, actually reported that of relentless worsening of the climate crisis of 2020, as you have temperatures soaring, average temperatures soared to 1.2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. So that's close to the 1.5 degree Celsius upper limit that scientists have warned us to, like, stay off of, you know what I mean? So it's obviously look at it as an issue. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres basically gave you know, talking about the state of the global climate report. He was saying that, you know, we face a triple crisis, like a climate crisis, a biodiversity crisis, and a pollution crisis. So, you know, people need to, you know, basically suggesting people need to take this seriously, or else we're gonna, as he said, go off into the abyss. So you have the World Meteorological Organization saying that the world's oceans have actually accumulated a lot of heat, and it's causing the oceans to be, you know, more acidic and less oxygenated, or, you know, basically having more hydrogen ions than hydrogen oxide ions, I presume, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, basically more acidic, less oxygen in them. And you actually have and, you know, 2020 was brought out some crazy things in the climate throughout the globe. You had, you know, sea levels rising from melting glaciers in Antarctica and in Greenland. You had near record low sea ice in the Arctic. You had, you know, flooding, major flooding in Asia and Africa, and extreme drought in South America. And you had a record 30 named storms during the during the Atlantic hurricane season. You know what I'm saying? So records is being set on this climate tip. We'll see how this, we'll see what we do. That's why we gotta say at the end of everything, green wall and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over 400 climate experts that actually signed on to this open letter warning governments that they're silencing and criminalizing peaceful environment protesters like the Sunrise Movement, like Extinction Rebellion, you know what I'm saying, shout out to them, like school strikes for climate. Them people that's them kids that's every Friday leaving school to protest and demand climate change measures by their governments, in different countries. Started by Greta Thunberg, and this, spread on to be a worldwide protest. And in this letter, they're saying that, it's been made abundantly clear that governments aren't going to act on climate change without pressure from the people. And I'm paraphrasing right now, but it also says so, criminalizing protesters seems like an anti-democratic way of refusing to act on climate change, basically. So this is coming, but at the same time, you got on Sunday, China and the United States pledging to work with other countries on tackling climate change. So it's being taken as a pledge to cut emissions or whatever. Now these are the two biggest greenhouse gas emitters in the world. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens with this. It looks like it's going to be a virtual climate summit held by Joe Biden this week. So there are going to be a lot of talks about this. It's a very pressing, hot topic, pun intended. The green wall and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over in India, they're experiencing crazy surges with COVID-19. In the capital, Delhi, they actually are going to lock down for 6 days. It caused thousands of migrant workers to actually rush to the bus terminals on the outskirts of Delhi, just to, so they could get to where they at before the lockdown. And it actually caused public officials to actually warn that that mass exodus will probably cause a spike in COVID cases. Yesterday they reported 260,000 new infections, and the numbers are assumed to be higher because there's actually a lack of testing going on in India. You have several major cities claiming that they have numbers of cremations and burials that are a lot higher than the official death count numbers. So right now it's said that 8% of the population of India has received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. And then you have the Serum Institute of India. This is the world's largest producer of vaccines. They actually are urging President Joe Biden over here in the U.S. to lift this U.S. export ban that they have because it's cutting off, it's keeping them from getting critical raw materials that they're gonna need for the production of vaccines, that are essential to the production of vaccines. So we'll see if Biden pushes that button. Green wall and graduation. This report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So you actually have the global COVID-19 infection rates to be actually higher than that of January's peak, which was a high peak. So this is a new record of COVID-19 infections happening across the world. You have a lot of vaccine disparity too amongst the richer nations like the United States and the United Kingdom, et cetera, in the global South. So you even got youth climate activist Greta Thunberg, the teenage girl that started the Friday school strikes to get governments to make action on climate change. She actually said her organization is going to donate 120 bands to the United Nations COVAX initiative to help get more vaccines to poorer nations. COVAX is the UN's initiative to do exactly that, try to make sure that these less wealthy nations have access to the vaccine and not just get drowned out by the colonialists. You know what I'm saying? So this in mind, you got President Biden yesterday urging all Americans 16 years old and older to get the vaccine. It's not eligible for all of such to do so. And this comes as there were 68,000 new infections recorded yesterday and over 500 deaths due to COVID-19, coronavirus disease, SARS-CoV-2, and that Rona yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you check out BFN World Broadcast number 17, aka Rona, that rap I did for the channel, you know, Black Fox News, to basically, it's a banger, but it actually lets you know where this shit started. So, you know what I mean? Because we can't know where we going if we don't know where we came from. You know what I'm saying? Green War and graduation, though. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So, over in Cuba, there has been a change of the guards. You have the Cuban Communist Party actually choosing their new leader to be President Miguel Diaz-Canel. This will be and you know, this is coming since Raul Castro actually retired from being president of the country last week. This marks the first time the rulership of the country has gone outside of the Castro family since Fidel Castro led the Cuban Revolution that took over in 1959. So we'll see how this comes about. I mean, they're in the middle of an economic crisis, which is being made worse by sanctions against the Cuba nation by the United States. So maybe with this new change in power, maybe there will be negotiations on the table. Possibly not. Green War graduation, though. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So you have a bunch of volcanic ash that actually settled on the island of St. Vincent in the Caribbean after a long time dormant volcano had actually erupted earlier this month. So over 20,000 people actually had to evacuate from this area to get to safer places, and they're in urgent need of food, water, clothing, shelter, and all of that. So you had the Prime Minister of the island, Ralph Gonzalez. He was actually pleading with the United Nations Security Council, saying, you know, please help St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the midnight hour of need. More than a fifth of the island has had to evacuate to safer areas. Monumental challenge in humanitarian relief. So we'll see if the UN actually does something about it, or if any neighboring countries, if the US maybe even might do something about it. I mean, why not? Green War and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over in South Africa, and that's in Africa for you dumb motherfuckers out there, they actually had a wildfire that went through the University of Cape Town, destroying historical records that were like irreplaceable, and you know what I mean, artifacts, monuments, and all of that, whatever that stuff that was actually being held at the university's library that actually got destroyed. So, you know, this fire actually tore through a whole portion of the campus, causing like students and faculty to have to evacuate. And officials are saying that it was likely started by an individual and then made worse by heavy winds and high temperatures that they got over there. So you know how the motherland gets as far as the heat goes, especially in the South. We talking about the southern tip of it too, man. But you know, it's fucked up for anybody who have been record keeping. I mean, you know, because at the end of the day, especially as it pertains to Africa, every artifact is important. We need to know what the fuck, how bad y'all colonists really did this shit out here. You know what I'm saying? And that's what them records is for. So, you know, hopefully, if they do find that it was an arsonist involved, that you know what I mean, that person they find out, they get to the bottom of that shit. Green War and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So in Washington, D.C., you had the chief medical examiner examining the death of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, the officer that actually died from the January 6th insurrection riots that took place at the U.S. Capitol. Brian Sicknick was actually attacked with a chemical spray by these two men who were arrested by federal agents in March. And, you know, now the medical examiner has ruled that Sicknick suffered 2 strokes and died of natural causes. So it's actually going to hurt the efforts to get homicide charges against the rioters. Meanwhile, Ethan Nordine, Joseph Biggs, 2 leaders in the Proud Boys organization who actually were detained for their involvement in the insurrection, initially had a decision that would allow them to be released, while they await trial. But this has actually been reversed by a federal judge who says they have to stay in jail until this trial. You know what I mean? It was the pre-trial. We'll see how this turns out though. Greenwald. Hey, yeah, I want to know where the fuck is Enrique Tarrio? You know what I'm saying? That's the official leader of the Proud Boys movement, who, you know what I mean, the national leader or whatever, who was actually found to be a government informant. Where's this snitch ass, rat ass motherfucker at, man? Like, seriously, you know, that needs to be addressed and put at the forefront. I mean, along with the people that partook in that Capitol insurrection, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, well, I'll keep y'all updated though. Greenwald on graduation. Report out of the New World, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So after a bunch of pushback from her own party, Georgia Congressmember Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is a chick that was like has known for promoting QAnon conspiracies, you know what I'm saying racist shit, you know, anti-Semitic comments, anti-Muslim comments, calling for violence against Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, who's the Speaker of the House. You know, so she's made noise like that, being an all-out Trump supporter and going towards the extreme right, whatever. She actually has canceled plans to start an America First caucus, and this came from pushback after pushback from her own party. Now, mind you, the theme of the caucus was for common unique interest in Anglo-Saxon political traditions. So, you know, when you start throwing that Anglo-Saxon word around, you know what I'm saying? You know, their traditions involve murder, robbery, pillaging, you know what I'm saying? So, at the expense of other races, therefore being racist, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, watch out for her. Greenwald on graduation. Report out of the New World, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So, in Bessemer, Alabama, keep in mind, I told y'all how they actually were coming to a vote at the Amazon warehouse over there on whether they were going to form a union or not within the company. And after a months-long battle of doing this, organized by the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, they actually voted no. Well, it turns out this same union actually filed 23 complaints with the National Labor Relations Board, accusing Amazon of unlawfully and unethically interfering with the vote on whether there was going to be a union or not, by threatening to cut off the pay or, you know what I mean, the time off from workers and threatening to cut benefits. I mean, you had one lady, Amazon worker there, Jennifer Bates, who was basically saying that there was unlawful things going on where, you know, the young people there thought that they really shouldn't vote, that they were going to lose their job, and that, you know, if, you know, the company's threatening to, like, you know what I mean, stop or shut down the warehouse if, you know, this were to form. So people were definitely misinformed, and there was a quote, impression of surveillance, unquote, that was placed there where you had private mailboxes being placed all around the warehouse to actually monitor who was voting. So it was definitely scare tactics that were in place, and that shit is considered illegal, especially as it comes to workers' rights. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see if these 23 complaints with the National Labor Relations Board actually turns into something against this behemoth that we as a society have created called Amazon. Greenwald on graduation. Report out of the New World, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Make sure you check out blackfoxnews.com/shop. Actually get yourself some paraphernalia, some gear to support the movement. You know what I mean? It ain't just sweaters. We got shirts too. We got pants. We got flip-flops, towels, mugs, and other lines of clothing as well, not just with the logo in it. So, you know, make sure you check that out. Support us as we continue to support y'all. On to this news, though. Over in Chad, in Africa, the government of Chad is actually reporting that their president, Idris Deby, actually died from injuries that he caught while visiting the front lines of the government soldiers that were actually in northern Chad fighting off rebels. So he died on the front line as the president. This is somebody who took power 3 decades ago after he led the 1990 rebellion against the dictator Hissène Habré, who was backed by the United States. So, you know what I'm saying? Rest in peace. Idris Deby. Greenwald on graduation.